Hello. In this video, we're going to discuss using negatives. Words such as not, don't, and no. Using negatives correctly will help you to talk about what's true and what isn't true. There are many ways to use negatives in English. We'll discuss using negatives with verbs and negatives that tell how often. The most common way to use negatives is with verbs. A verb is a word that tells an action or a state of being. For example, wear, see, and walk are all verbs because they're all actions or things you can do. Be is a verb too. It isn't an action, but it tells us about the state of something, like in the sentence, Ying is hungry, or Callie is a doctor. Before we can use a negative with a verb, we need to make sure that there's also a helping verb in the sentence. A helping verb, also known as an auxiliary verb, is a word that works together with a verb to describe the action in a sentence. Helping verbs include do, have, can, and some others. We use helping verbs to say things like, we have seen that movie, or Marta can walk to work. Those sentences have helping verbs, so we can add a negative to change the meaning of the verb. Put the word not in between the helping verb and the verb. That gives us, we have not seen that movie, and Marta cannot walk to work. Notice that when we add not after can, we get one word, cannot. Helping verbs and the word not are often combined to form contractions, or words made by combining other words and leaving out some letters. The sentences we just made can use contractions like this. We haven't seen that movie, and Marta can't walk to work. Those sentences already had helping verbs, so it was easy to add a negative. But lots of sentences don't have helping verbs, such as Ying made dinner for his parents, and Callie bought a book. Remember, we can't add a negative to a sentence unless it has a helping verb. So if we want to add a negative to sentences like these, we must first follow two steps. First, add the helping verb do in front of the verb. Second, add not between the helping verb and the verb. Following these steps leads to Ying did not make dinner for his parents, and Callie did not buy a book. Notice that we changed the helping verb do to did. That's because we're talking about something that happened in the past, so we use the past tense form of the helping verb. These rules will help us use negatives with most verbs. However, there is an important exception. If the sentence's verb is be, and there's no helping verb, like in these sentences. Ying's parents are hungry, or Callie is a doctor. If be is the verb in a sentence, and there's no helping verb, then we add not after the verb, like this. Ying's parents are not hungry, and Callie is not a doctor. Like we've already practiced, we can make contractions with the verb be and not. Ying's parents aren't hungry, and Callie isn't a doctor. Now let's talk about negatives that tell how often something happens. We'll talk about never, which means 0 times, and hardly ever, which means very infrequently or rarely. We can use these negatives with or without helping verbs. So we can take both of these sentences, Kang has worn glasses and Kang wears glasses, and add negatives that tell how often. These negatives, never or hardly ever, go right in front of the verb. So now we get Kang has never worn glasses, or Kang has hardly ever worn glasses, and Kang never wears glasses, or Kang hardly ever wears glasses. To summarize, we've talked about using negatives with verbs and using negatives that tell how often. Next, we'll play a game to practice using negatives correctly.